Hello everybody, I welcome you all in this new edition of news coverage and analysis from the Hindu newspaper dated 2nd March 2019. So what all are we going to cover is detailed here in this page. You can pause the video and note down if you wish. So let's start with the first article. At OIC meet, India flays terror funding. That we will not be talking about what India talked there, because this article is important for your mains only, and then by the time we reach to the mains level, lot many things must have happened on India and Pakistan front and terrorism. So we would be summarizing when we approach mains. Right now, for prelims level, the important aspect is what is this OIC? The Organization of Islamic Cooperation is an international organization founded in 1969, consisting of 57 member states with a collective population of over 1.8 billion as of 2015, with 40 countries being Muslim majority countries. The organization states that it is the collective voice of Muslim world and works to safeguard and protect the interests of the Muslim world in the spirit of promoting international peace and harmony. The OIC has permanent delegation to the United Nations and the European Union. The official language of OIC is Arabic, English and French. The Parliamentary Union of the OIC member states, PUOICM, was established in Iran in 1999 and its head office is situated in Tehran. Only OIC members are entitled to membership to the Union. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has 57 members and 56 of which are also member of the states of United Nations, the exception being Palestine. Some members, especially in West Africa and South America, are, though with large Muslim population, not necessarily Muslim majority countries. A few countries with significant Muslim population such as Russia, Thailand sit as observer states. However, you must remember that India has not been given that membership in spite of having such a large population of Muslims. Also, it is not a permanent observer status. It is invited at some times. So this time India is invited as observer state. Now at page 6, fires are crucial component of some forest system, says the group of scientists. We generally believe that fire would destroy the jungle or the forest area, but on the contrary, scientists say that at times fire is a necessity. Let's try to understand how and why. A group of scientists is asking a question that would seem almost unbelievable under the current circumstances. Are some forest fire necessary as bad as we make them out to be? Well, forests that we think are natural, pristine, have often been created by anthropogenic burning for thousands of years. So there has been fire in forest. That's what scientists say. In fact, several native trees and plants in these landscapes have co-evolved with fire. Fire helps revive dormant seeds of many species. More evidence points to fire even suppressing invasive species, and this is quite an important thing. That this is one of the this is first one and this is the second one. These are two important parameters to support why fire is required and why those tribal people or other than tribal naturally people residing in forest area go for burning of some of the forest areas. So basically, since they cohabit, they know the implication of limited scope fires in forest. So according to Soliga's account, hairy mystellatos, a parasitic shrub that affect mature trees, has also thrived due to fire suppression. Studies corroborated this too. Mystellatos induced trees death are high and have resulted in decline of the wild gooseberry trees, which the Soligas rely upon for forest produce. High intensity fire would have negative effect, agreed the scientists, but they happen only because dry biomass have allowed to build up and low intensity controlled burning has been stopped. And that's why other than forest dwellers actually used to limit these kind of first invasive species and to reduce dry biomass. If an area is continuously protected from fire, it could catch fire once in 4 years or so because the high accumulation of grass, woods and twigs. So quite a good insight. We must see this kind of aspect also, so that we could actually develop our perspective regarding sustainable ecosystem. Now at page 7, order to surveillance meant to protect privacy, says the government. Let's try to understand what government is saying. The center told the Supreme Court on Friday that its December 20th, 2018 notification allowing 10 central agencies to snoop on people is in fact a measure to protect citizens' privacy. What a contradictory statement, but let's try to understand. This seems oxymoron, but let's try to understand what government is saying and what is government's perspective. The order allows central agencies from the Intelligence Bureau to Central Bureau of Direct Access, that is CBDT, or Cabinet Secretary, that is RAW, to the Commissioner of Delhi Police to intercept, monitor and decrypt any information generated, transmitted, received or stored in any computer source. What has been done under December 20th order is in fact restricting the exercise of power, removing a possible vagueness and specifying the agency's organization who only would have the power to utilize power of section 69 of the act. So basically government is saying that before the issue of this order, that is December 20th order, there was a vagueness in the procedure. So now government has specified who can check for or try to decrypt your data, or would try to see your data, watch your data, decrypt your data, and in what circumstances they are allowed to do so. So earlier, in a way, there was unbridled power. Now that is channelized. So in a way, citizen is protected. Now the government is further saying that the order is based on section 69(1) of the Information Technology Act 2000. This is important for your prelims examination. And rule 4 of the Information Technology 2009 rule, procedure and safeguard of interception, monitoring and decryption of information rule 2009. This is important for your prelims. Now the government says that the very purpose of December 20th order is to ensure that the surveillance is done as per the due process of law. That any interception, monitoring, decryption of computer resources is done only by authorized agency and with the approval of competent authority to prevent unauthorized use of these powers by any agency, individual or intermediary, so that the right to privacy of citizen is not violated. Let's see how it turns out to be. There is no blanket permission to any agency. The government explained. Permission for surveillance need to be got from Union Home Secretary. So quite a high level. Besides, the law mandates the center and the state to constitute a review committee with the cabinet secretary. So government is trying to say that since apex authority is involved in giving permission for checking your data, so in a way government is trying to protect your data and your security. So basically not everybody would be snooped, because for every snooping you will have to go to cabinet secretary, home secretary for his approval. So for public order, the center says that its December 20th order derives statutory justification from section 69 of the Information Technology Act 2000. This you should remember for your pre. Section 69 gives the power to intercept, monitor and decrypt any information through any computer sources. These are the data points you should remember for your mains. It says surveillance can be done if authorities are satisfied that it is necessary or expedient to do so in the interest of the sovereignty or the integrity of India, defense of India, and security of the state. The other clause you must remember: friendly relation with the foreign states, or public order, or preventing incitement of the commission of any cognizable offense, or for investigation of any offense. So these are the points you should remember. I mean, these are the provisions. So you must remember, in case question is asked related to this particular act, Information Technology Act 2000, or Information Technology Act 2009 rules, procedure and safeguard of interception, monitoring and decryption of information. So you should be able to detail these points. The reason for surveillance have to be recorded in order in writing, and permission has to be taken from Union Home Secretary. The subscriber or the intermediary or any person in charge of the computer resource shall provide access to the computer resource to the government. Lack of cooperation shall be punished with a prison term which may be extended to 7 years and a penalty. So all these points you should remember, and if question is asked related to Information Technology Act 2000, you should be able to detail all these points. Quite an important article from your mains point of view. Now, Ayushman Bharat cover for Uber cab drivers. Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has joined hand with Uber to extend health cover to their drivers and delivery partners. Though this partnership with Uber, government hope to reach out to lakhs of people and their families in the drivers and delivery community. Well, important point is not Uber. The important point is government has tried to find out a way to reach to those people who are not yet covered through Jan Arogya Yojana. So today if it is Uber, tomorrow maybe Ola, and maybe after some time government would be able to reach to big transporter, and then subsequently this would actually increase the awareness, and tomorrow people might start asking for this program to the government. So today it is a push program, tomorrow it might become a pull program where people would get attracted to the program because of its spread. So Ola or Uber or big transporter would actually signify, or actually signifies the intent of the government, and this actually would lead to the penetration among those who are not yet covered and who does not avail this facility because of lack of awareness, and probably who are left out of the broad umbrella. So quite an interesting approach of the government or initiative of the government. This must yield some good result. Now we reach to the editorial, ensure a minimum income for all. This article is related to appraisal of universal basic income scheme and its mode of implementation in India vis-a-vis PM Kisan scheme. So basically this is yet another article related to universal basic scheme. After the launch of Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, this kind of debate is very much bound to happen. I mean, what are the good part of PM Kisan scheme, what all should have been done, what is left out, what should have been incorporated, what are the improvisation that is required and or should have been taken. It's a good step, because the moment you start criticizing or critically evaluating a scheme, you actually tend to improvise. So it's a good part. So what is author's appraisal? It is crucial to the appeal for such a demand for a UBI is that millions of people remain unemployed and are extremely poor despite rapid economic growth in last 3 decades. So this is basically an appeal towards UBI, that UBI is required, because in spite of gaining 7%, 8%, 10%, 11% GDP growth, still we have got millions of people who are unemployed, who are extremely poor, and they are not part of that wagon which is leading to the growth. They are not getting benefited. Basically they are left out. So we need to bring them together and keep them on track of the development. They should also get the fruit of success of this economic development. So the UBI is neither an antidote to the vagaries of market forces nor a substitute for basic public services. This is what author is cautioning, especially health and education. So the author has made it very clear that you should go for this kind of basic income scheme or the support scheme, but you should never feel that this can supplement or can substitute health and education program that government is running. Besides, there is no need to transfer money to the middle or high income earner as well as large landowner. So it should go to the destitutes, not to everybody, those who are extremely poor. But does direct cash transfer make sense? Yes, the author says. Why? These groups have not benefited from economic growth. That's what the author is saying, that this scheme should be targeted to those who are extremely poor and who has not got the benefit of economic growth. There is a strong case for direct income transfer to some groups, and those groups are landless laborers, agriculture workers, and marginal farmers who suffer from multi-dimensional poverty. They were and still are the poorest Indian, and they should definitely be benefited out of this scheme. Various welfare schemes have also failed to bring them out of penury. Now, don't have the access to institutional credit issued by banks and cooperative society, and that's why this direct cash transfer makes sense. According to the National Sample Survey Office (NSSO), data from the 70th round, institutional credit account for less than 15% of the total borrowing by landless agriculture worker. This is quite an anticipated data, because they do not know, or they do not have that access and approach to those institutions to get the credit in spite of having all the provisions. The figure for marginal and small farmer is only 30%. These groups have to borrow from moneylender and adatiyas at exorbitant interest rate ranging from 24 to 60%. This we all very well know. As a result, they don't stand to benefit much from the interest rate subsidy for the agriculture sector that government has been providing. So basically, you have initiated programs, but the target group is far away. I mean, like you are able to cater either this 30% or this 50% group only. So majority of the target group is still untouched. So you need to take initiative or start initiative to reach out to those who are left out. So this scheme can help in that approach to reach out to those who are untouched. Likewise, the benefit of subsidized fertilizer and power are enjoyed largely by big farmer. In urban areas, the contract worker and those in the informal sector face a similar problem. The rapid pace of the automation of low skill job and formalization of retail sector means prospect of these groups are even bleaker, and that's why they need more support now. We have got automation, so called those low skill jobs are going out. We have got now retail sector, big companies are into retail sector. So those poor whose livelihood was dependent on selling vegetables and fruits are at danger, and they are actually getting further marginalized. So this kind of cash transfer scheme now makes more sense. Now, does the PM Kisan fits into the socialist system the way we have envisaged, or the case that we are trying to build up? Well, the author says 6,000 probably is a low amount. An income support of say 15,000 per annum can be a good supplement to their livelihood. An amount worth more than a third of the average consumption of the poorest 25% household. So poorest 25% household is also requires approximately 45,000 rupees per annum to survive, and more than a fourth of annual income of marginal farmers. So that's what the author is saying, that the average marginal farmer is also earning around 60,000 rupees. So this 15,000 amount would actually be a good support system. This additional income can reduce the income of indebtedness among marginal farmer. thereby helping them escape moneylenders and adhatiyas. Besides, it can go a long way in helping poor to make end meet. Several studies have shown that at high level of impoverishment, even a small income supplement can improve nutrient intake and increase enrollment in school attendance for students coming from a poor household. Income transfer to the poor will lead to the improved health and educational outcomes, which in turn would lead to a more productive workforce. It seems to be a good idea to transfer money into the bank account of the women. This is quite an innovative suggestion, that money should not be given to the male, rather it should be transferred to the women in the family. Women tend to spend more of their income on health and the education of children. What further can this offer? This scheme. In principle, cash transfer can result in the withdrawal of beneficiary from the labor force. So that way, what author envisages that if we give them this kind of money support in the tune of 15,000 rupees, maybe they would like to get into agriculture. They might go for patta, take small land holding on patta and use this money for agriculture, or may go for, say, rearing, or poultry, or maybe for vegetable farming, or many kind of stuff. But the point is that they probably might withdraw from the labor force who are seeking labor through Manrega scheme. So actually it will reduce the pressure on Manrega scheme also. However, the income support suggested above is not too large to discourage beneficiary from seeking work. In fact, it can promote employment and economic activity. That's what I was talking about. For instance, income received can come in handy as interest-free working capital for several categories of beneficiary, like food and vegetable vendor and a small artisan, thereby promoting their own business and employment in that process. So basically, they might think of starting something on their own, either into agriculture or into some small business. So they might withdraw from the labor force and would reduce pressure on Manrega scheme. So direct cash transfer can have three immediate effects. First, it will help bring a large number of households out of the poverty trap, or prevent them from falling into the event of exigencies such as illness. This is the straight correlation that you can draw. Second, it will reduce income inequalities. And third, since the poor spend most of their income, a boost in their income will increase demand and promote economic activities in rural areas. So these are the 3 points which you can see that these are the direct implication of cash transfer scheme. And what further? Nevertheless, an income transfer scheme cannot be a substitute to universal basic services. So author is again emphasizing that this cannot make a case for withdrawal of universal basic services like health, sanitation and education. The direct income support to the poor will deliver benefit mentioned only if it comes on top of public services such as primary health and education. This means that direct transfers should not be at the expense of public services for primary health and education. So government must maintain its focus on primary health and education. If anything, budgetary allocation for these services should be raised significantly. Programs such as Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee, that is Manrega scheme, should also stay. With direct income support, the demand for the programs will come down naturally. So it's not that this program should be snubbed or should be closed down. It should be there. But if this PM Kisan scheme with proper allocation is executed efficiently, you might see the result on Manrega scheme. Because the way author envisages that people might start pulling out of the labor force and would try to start something on their own. The moment things starts improving, you will see the result that the demand for work is reducing. In case you have noticed that year on year the demand for work in Manrega is increasing by 33%, and every year the allocation of government is falling short by 20%. So you can correlate that more than 50% budgetary allocation is required more on year to year basis. So if you want to make that program successful, so that shows actually the stress on the poorest of the poor, that the society is under tremendous stress. So if you want to bring them out of that distress, what you should do, that you should give a proper allocation to this direct cash transfer scheme like PM Kisan. You should expand the horizon of PM Kisan. It should not be only directed towards those who are having land up to 2 hectares. Rather, landless should also be included, landless laborers. Those who are into agriculture based on patta system should also be included, female farmers, and so many other spectrum should be included. It should be made more broad. So should everyone be offered UBI? The author says no. It will have to be restricted to the poorest of the poor household. Socioeconomic and caste census SECC 2011 can be used to identify the neediest. This is quite an interesting and important suggestion. Groups suffering from multi-dimensional poverty such as destitute, the shelterless, the manual scavengers, tribal groups, and former bonded laborers are automatically included here. The data set includes more than 6 crore landless laborers. It also includes many small farmers who face deprivation criteria such as family without a bread earning adult member and those without a pakka house. The other needy group, small farmers missing from SECC, can be identified using the data set from the agriculture census of 2015-16. Together, these two data sets can help identify the poorest Indians, especially in rural area. And however, many households, such as the marginal farmer belonging to both data sets, can also be found. The Aadhaar identity can be used to rule out duplication and update the list of eligible household. So quite an interesting suggestion here to identify the target group to whom the direct cash transfer benefit should be extended. So the author is saying that as an approximation, the number of eligible household is 10 crore. That is, even in its basic form, the scheme will require approximately 1.5 lakh crore per annum. And right now, what is the allocation in PM Kisan scheme? It is 75,000 crore. So more allocation is required, and all these suggestions should be included to make it more holistic and more complete. So quite a good article. You must think and try to incorporate the ideas given in your own thought process. Now the next article is changing the strip of conservation. Well, the development project in tiger habitat and the fragmentation of migration corridor calls for a rethink of conservation policies. Well, the author is saying that tigers are never located, or they never stay in a fixed area. Rather, they have a corridor. They migrate from one tiger reserve or one habitat to another. So they shift from one places to another. So first we need to understand what is the tiger corridor, and we should try to restrict the developmental project as well as industries in those areas, because when these projects come, they hamper the corridor, leading to man-animal conflict. So it says that in 2006 tiger census by National Tiger Conservation Authority, it pegged the number of tigers at 1,411. Officials involved with the 2018 tiger census operation says that the number is now closer to 2,600. So on one place the number of tigers are increasing, and while we are also getting into their corridor, reducing the habitat. So a need for better understanding of tiger corridor is what this article suggests. About 24,000 kilometers of road cut through animal or wildlife corridor, and they have a deadly impact on the tigers. About 16 tigers have been killed in road and train accident over past 5 years. Big ticket projects pose an even bigger threat. So does large scale projects that are coming up near sanctuaries, because definitely it will directly come into conflict with the wildlife present in that area. So the problem is that we haven't yet mapped the tiger corridor or any of the well-defined route that the tigers may be using for migration and resettlement. Adding to the confusion is that there are many forest tracts that abut the roads. Of the 50 designated, this is the example that is cited by this article, that how this corridor works and how the migration happens. Of the 50 designated tiger reserves in the country, 16 in central India forms a continuous tiger corridor. Tipeswar Wildlife Sanctuary, important for your pre, has about 18 tigers. Kawal Tiger Reserves in 2012 has seen a tiger or two only in the last 4 years. The Umred Handla Wildlife Sanctuary, on the other hand, is not a tiger reserve but is a home of many tigers, because tigers have migrated to that wildlife sanctuary. The Pench Tiger Reserve at present has 30 tigers, while an adult tiger requires 25 to 40 square kilometer of forest area to enjoy sufficient quantity of prey. Now there is one tiger in every 8 to 10 square kilometer. So naturally the space is reducing. So what the tigers would do? They would encroach upon human habitat. That's why it leads to spillage. The tigers are moving out of the other forest to find prey, and this can be an opportunity to improve our record and practices in wildlife conservation. So this is what the author or the article is suggesting, that we first need to map the tiger corridor if you want to avoid man-animal conflict or the destruction of wildlife. So this is all for today. Thank you very much.